everyone, and welcome to another episode of my Woman Who Inspires series. My name is Sreshtha Tewari. I am the director of the Self-Worth, Leadership, and Empowerment Consultancy. I am a motivational speaker and wholeness guide. And at heart, I just want all women to really live mentally free. In this series, we speak to a diverse group of women. The purpose of the series is to let other women know that our emotions that are deemed as negative are really messengers from the universe or a higher power telling us that the space where we are in is not good for us and pushing us to move to a better space, a happier place, or even a higher purpose. Today, I am extremely excited to welcome Alicia Garcia-Pedro. Alicia is a John C. Maxwell coach, trainer, and a speaker. She is the director of progressive coaching at Dare to Become Limited. Alicia holds a master's in business and strategic planning. Welcome to the series, Alicia. How are you today?
Great. I am great. Really happy to be here.
I'm very happy to have you. So, Alicia, I'm going to ask you to share your emotional healing journey.
Okay, so I'm going to take you back a bit, and not that I don't have emotional or challenges now that I have to deal with, but one of the most impactful journeys has been as a younger child, as a child growing up. One of the things that I experienced was seeing my mom struggle through domestic violence. As a young child, that's something that's very scarring. You do not forget. You do not forget the fights. You do not forget the battles. And of course, those memories remain. Through that, very early on in my age, I decided that, these experiences were not going to break me. They were going to make me. And it was partly because of my mom too, because I saw her in the middle of circumstances that were really, really hard to deal with. I saw her push through and change her circumstances and fight for her kids, fight for herself, fight to be treated with respect. And in that journey and seeing her being at her very lowest to then at her highest and really overcome those challenges, that also impressed on me the need for me to take whatever comes my way, however difficult it is, and press forward. And today I'm eager to share about that journey, how it was not an easy road, but again, it's a decision. And I've used the pain and the memories and the challenges to shape how I communicate, how I help others, how I even push through the current day challenges that I experience.
Yeah. So I want to ask you, that is such a sensitive topic. And I am very passionate about domestic abuse awareness and what women go through in these situations. Alicia actually helped me on the first event I ever did before COVID, when we didn't really know of the value of the things we have now in the virtual world. Alicia had helped me to do a Know Your Options event in 2017 to raise awareness for women more on mental and emotional abuse. And she really was like my partner, my ride or die for that event. So, Alicia, I want to ask you, as a child, how does a child feel, or how did you feel? Because I know you can't speak for everybody, but a lot of times, women are pressured to stay in these situations, being told that you need to stay for your child because your child needs to have a mother and a father in the same home. So would you be able to share your own experience, how you felt when you saw the conflict or the abuse taking place? You mightn't have known it was abuse, but just what you felt as a child, and how did that make you feel as a little girl?
I knew very early on that it was not right. Like, this could not be. I saw my mother's pain. So it's difficult to see that. It's difficult to see things seeming unfair and one person hurting more than anything else. I saw the effect it had on our family, my siblings as well. But I also saw mommy try. Like, she did not readily want to give up. So she tried to, in her own way, to make a marriage work, keep a family together. And I gave her that, but it was at some point it was becoming to her detriment. It was too much of a sacrifice for her well-being as well as those of her kids. And then I saw her make that decision that my safety, me staying alive, the safety of my kids, their education, the environment that they were in, that she wanted to grow them up in, was more important than trying to change something that didn't seem like it would change at all. So I got to see the pain and the tears. I also got to see her faith, and that's where I am grounded in my faith as well. See her journey through it, but having deep faith and constantly praying and hoping and fighting and facing things like, as a single parent, and, having to pay rent and finding somewhere to live and doing that for a few years, like starting over for a few years. But I was able to see that strength, and I think I got fueled with that as well. We saw that. So we were there with her neck and neck. So yes, there was pain and we went through it. But when we were together and when we were safe, it meant that we accepted that this was a new beginning for us. All right. It was challenging in a way, but I learned that you could make the best of what you have, once you removed yourself from circumstances that could eventually destroy you and those you love.
Right. And when your mom decided to leave that situation, were you relieved or how did you feel?
Yeah, a tremendous amount of relief. A lot of fear. I'm not going to even say a bit of fear, a lot of fear, because, in circumstances like that, when you eventually make that decision, I had nightmares. I didn't sleep for a lot of nights because you're afraid what could happen. Restraining orders, maintenance, all those, a lot of fights. And I was afraid that it would just turn ugly. We were seeking our peace. She was seeking happiness for us. But in spite of that, I had fears that my father would come. He would return and he would be very angry, for her standing up for herself and fighting for us. So,
and how did you deal with that fear?
I think one of it was school, focus on schooling. She created an environment for us of prayer, a lot of prayers. She kept us in church, she was our pillar, so even if we were fearful, we saw her become immensely strong and independent. And that helped us as well. That helped to quell those fears and know that God's in charge. He was protecting us. She was there for us, and just go about living and doing the things that we want to do that we couldn't have before.
So coming out of that situation, you talk about how you saw basically the strength of a woman and how what your mother went through, it fueled you on your own drive. So I'm just going to ask you, if you had to choose one learning from that very unfortunate situation, what would you say your biggest learning was?
My biggest learning was not giving up on hope of something better. She challenged, she decided that things were going to change. She was going to come out of those circumstances, but not just remove herself and fight to get out of those circumstances, but to still hope that her well-being and her well-being of her kids, that we would be happy one day. So it's about just continuously hoping and having faith, no matter how messy things get. That would be my takeaway.
Yeah, what an incredible takeaway to keep your faith. And for all that you spoke about that you went through, and in the beginning you said how this story helped you learn how to deal with people and how to communicate with people. And I can vouch that Alicia is one of the nicest, most compassionate people you have ever met. When we used to work closely, we don't work together anymore, but I used to say she was my work best friend because she's really just an incredibly nice person. She would support you as much as she can within her time. And she is very gentle. Well, you can tell, very gentle and sweet to talk to. So, Alicia, I want to thank you so much for coming and sharing a different story, because a lot of persons, when they hear a mother leaving a father, there is still that notion that the family unit, the nuclear family, should stay together. And a lot of persons really don't understand that a healthier family life can actually be the family unit not staying together and the whoever it is moving on with their children. It is a risk, but eventually, hopefully, the children are in a safer space, both mentally and emotionally. And then the parent is in a safer space physically for herself. And it shows that, the fact that you spoke about how relieved you were also shows that, our children, as children, we really bear a lot of what our parents go through. I mean, when I had done the domestic abuse awareness series, the psychologist spoke about how children internalize what is going on and feel that some of it is on them, like they are responsible for some of the behavior that is taking place. And this also results in and comes out in their own behaviors in the future. But I'm really glad that your mom was able enough to do it with courage and strength, and that you took so many learnings from this. I mean, you could have been just a bitter, angry person, and you are just the complete opposite of that. You internalized everything and really just became the best you out of a very, very dangerous situation. So I'm just going to ask you one more thing. What message do you have for women out there who may be going through a similar situation to that?
I would say it's you owe it to yourself to love yourself, and when you're not getting that and you're not seeing the signs of love, you have to break through. It's a hard decision, and deciding for family, for what your in-laws might think, what your parents might think, you have to always come back to what do you want for self. And if you love yourself, what do you want for you? And to make that decision. Don't let anybody else decide for you. You have to make that decision.
Yeah, that is so powerful. And always one of my messages, always choose you first. When you know your own worth, then you would be able to accept people who deserve you in your life. So, Alicia, I really want to thank you so much for coming on the program and sharing with our audience. I am going to have all of Alicia's information below. So if you are interested in contacting her for coaching, you would be able to do so. Please reach out to her. She is definitely one of the nicest persons you will ever meet. And I will see you guys again tomorrow. Bye, everyone.